So the first thing that I did is I grabbed my number 4 guard, put it on my seniors, and just real quick going up and down. Not too high up, but you know, just initially trying to clean out my canvas all around his head, trying to keep it below the parietal ridge area. And then right there I put my number 3 guard closed, just kind of going below what I did with the number 4 closed. Now when we place our initial guideline, just act like you're lining him up. Envision in your head that you're lining him up, and you're obviously going to push him back. That's the point. You want to push him back because that's how small this guideline is actually going to be. This primary guideline that you guys make sure that it's nice and clean and that it's not too high up. This isn't, you know, that perfect, but you can kind of see the flow or look that I'm trying to give it. Going back right now with my slimline and making those little adjustments. Quick little buzz through the bottom and get the skin showing. Right there I'm using my magic clip with my number 1 guard, lever open, and you know, I'm just kind of following that natural shape that I created in my initial guideline, giving it that flow. So I'm going around, like I said, with my number 1 open. The guideline is not going to be as small as the first one, about an inch high up, you know, to make sure that you have enough room to fade down. Once we create this, we're going to start fading down. You'll see me put the half guard on there, start off with the lever open first, and then, you know, close it as I work my way down. This is where I use my half guard. Start off with the lever open first, because, you know, you want to play it safe. What I mean by that is, when you start off with the lever open, you know, it's not going to take as much hair, so you have more room to kind of just get a feel for it first with the lever open, and then, you know, as you hear the blade crunching, as you hear it cutting, then you work your way down with the lever. Slowly but surely, I'm knocking that guideline down. I'm softening it up right now, but you know, slowly I'm getting there.
No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody.
So you see me use it a lot right now. I'm using a lot of corner fading just to give it that blurry effect, and obviously to get in those tight areas as well. And then you just got to take your time when doing things like this, because like I said, it is art. It is something that we're trying to perfect. It is something that, you know, has to be better than the average, you know, the average haircut. Okay, once I have beat the half to death, like I used it so much, you know, to the point where it doesn't cut no more, that's where I take it off and I use my blade by itself with the lever open at first, and then, you know, just working my way down. Right now I'm just making those corrections, making those adjustments before I proceed to my next step. I'm pretty much just closing that transition that I created. Now this is obviously the half guard. I start with the lever open, and this is going to be my next form of transition. Scoop up and out of the hair because I don't want to, you know, stretch out that blend. Okay, now this is where I start using my number 1 with my lever open. Okay, right there I'm still using my number 1 guard, and you know, I'm just, you know, make the best use of it, taking advantage of this guard. My number half guard right here, start with my lever pretty much open, just close the tad bit. As I work my way into that fade, I open and close my lever, give it some lever play, making sure that I'm using half of my blade or the corner of my blade. At this point, that's basically all you need. You can't use the whole blade. Giving it the touch-ups before I start removing that bulk. In order to soften up the bulk, you want to grab your thinning shears because we want to blend in but not really take off that much hair. So in this situation, your best bet is going with a thinning shear. So right here, we're starting off slow, just kind of softening it up real quick. Right here, I need to soften it up a bit more, obviously. You know, the transition is not clear enough, so I need to define it some more. Usually what I like to do in situations like this, when you're just trying to disperse the fade into the rest of the hair and be done with it, like where you don't want to create no more guidelines, I basically just go in with the red comb that I have in hand and I expose just the right amount of hair that I feel like I should cut, and then I cut it with the corners of the blade. That way it kind of like randomizes it in a smooth blurry transition all the way through. I put the comb, I expose the hair that I want, and then I remove it to see if it cut anything, and if it didn't, then I expose a little bit more the second time. So it's just like you kind of just, you know, going in and seeing how much the comb is exposing and seeing how much the clipper is cutting, and you know, you're gonna go off of that. Right there I decided to put on my number 1.5 guard and, you know, just tap into it with the corners. And at this point, you guys see me point cutting freehand technique. So this is basically you cutting holes in the hair and giving it that effect that, you know, you went over with the clipper and just use the corners to blend it in. With this, you have more control over, you know, where you direct those holes. Bring that fade and transition into the rest of the hair length. Okay, so what else? What do I see that I need to, you know, keep hitting? I obviously see this big ass shadow right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and blend that in further. So I'm looking at this fade and I obviously see a huge dark spot right there. These techniques and tools, they give us more control over what we're working with. You don't want to use a clipper this high up because, you know, a clipper could take too much. You know, it could leave a huge line right there that you can't get rid of, and it'll just mess up, you know, all this work that we've been doing. Right here, I'm just giving it some more point cutting. Usually at this point, when I'm gonna line him up, I spray him down with hairspray, but I didn't have any. I'm actually out, so I just went ahead and lined him up like that. Give it some true immersive detail and go back in there and try to look for some dark spots that you could have hit a little bit more. Try to look for some areas that could be a little bit more defined. Step back and look at the fade and just ask yourself, what could I have done better? What could I have faded more? And, you know, even whip out your cell phone and act like you're gonna take a picture or a video, and then, you know, in that screen and you're on your iPhone screen, you can see, you know, little areas you could have done a little bit better. So that allows you to go in with the clipper and make those corrections yourself.
Purchase your tracks today.
Right here, I grab my straight razor, go in with detail with the corners, you know, making sure that it's exposed, making sure that my blade is exposed, go against the grain, getting rid of that stubble.
Your tracks today.
Okay, at this point, you know, this is pretty much the icing on the cake, applying your choice of enhancement. In this case, I'm using Topikk hair fibers, and you know, that's pretty much it with this haircut. We're done at this point. The only thing that I'm going to do now is redefine that line by retracing that arc with my ES3 blade, and yeah, the haircut should be pretty much done at this point. So yeah, we implemented a system by fading down and then fading up, so that way you have more control over the fade. One of the key things, I guess, when doing this haircut is having control, because it is a controlled fade. You know, it's a very tight area where you need to fade in. In the end, you know, this haircut was pretty fun to do. It's always good to go in with, you know, a picture in your head, in your brain, of how you want this fade to look, and that's gonna help you achieve these results.